Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap. I'm Habibi.
I'm Andrew.
Tim.
And this month, we listened to none other than albums from the year 2008. What a year that was. We had some great bangers. We had some okay bangers. And we're going to establish right at the get-go who won and who lost this month. So let's start with our guest, Andrew. Andrew, did you win or did you lose this month?
It's up to him.
I won this month in my
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. In my eyes, I've won every of the ones I've participated in, but we'll just ignore that.
Would be made.
No, I thought this month we had a good representation actually of 2008, and not necessarily in some of the most popular albums of the year, but I was reminiscing on 2008 and looking at the songs, and the Dream Pop was the only one that was an outlier for me, but the others all had sort of connections to what happened in 2008. We had some sort of semi-dubstep music in the Crystal Castle, sort of representing. I watched Skins UK version around 2008, 2009. The music soundtrack was very similar. We had 2008, the previous years leading up to that, there's been wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and you had a Hero of War on Rise Against, and we had coming out of that and cool things, and then and Kings of Leon was kind of they were around in Australia in 2008. They did a tour for and I went, so.
That's all it's
Hottest 100 that year from memory.
Yeah.
I think they did.
If Kings of Leon had a year, that was it.
It was them.
I think that's it. They had a year.
They had a year. They had a big year, and then nothing.
Yeah. Tim, thoughts on who won this theme?
In terms of introducing me to cool stuff that I like, I think Habibi won with Crystal Castles. Not that I think this is representative of what happened in 2008, or even that I think it's the best album, because it wasn't. There's stuff on that album that I'm like, what the why? Stop. but in terms of enriching my musical library of knowledge, I think that did the most for me. Not that Beach House was too far off, because I haven't heard much Dream Pop. I haven't heard any Nintendo Core before, even though it's right up my alley. So that was good. It was a good excuse to get you to listen to Rise Against, and I jammed out to some Kings of Leon that I hadn't heard. There you go. What a month
cool.
we've had here on Vinyl Tap.
Yeah. Big
It has been a month.
2008, go Obama.
We discussed a little bit. We discussed a little bit before recording this episode, though. Crystal Castles technically might not fit in the theme. I don't know, because it's a collection of singles that had already been released, kind of put together in an album. So,
Yeah, but
given that,
in 2000,
really up to semantics.
it checks the box, but you could argue that it kind of doesn't at the same time. It's thin
bit of a
ice.
middle ground.
Who do you think won, Beebs?
Yeah, look, I don't really know. And I'll be perfectly honest, when it came to picking a song, an album for this theme, I was struggling, because apparently I didn't listen to music in 2008. Literally nothing rang a bell. I had nothing to pick. And sort of browsing through what songs came out, having a listen to what songs came out in 2008 in the more popular theme, I didn't listen to any of those, except for maybe Coldplay, Viva La Vida. That wasn't by choice. I didn't enjoy them.
It was just everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just everywhere. And then I kind of went on to Hottest 100. I didn't recognize anything there, so I had a great time. The Dream Pop was a bit weird,
how'd you pick
though.
your album then?
I've actually heard Crystal Castles post 2008. I found them, I don't know, a little while ago, maybe a couple of years ago. They got a cool sound, and I was literally looking up all of the bands that I listened to and praying to God that they had a release in 2008. Crystal Castles won. So
Kind of what I did too. And I actually had 3 things I could have picked from, and I just happened to land on Rise Against because I thought Muse would be too obvious. So who won, Beebs? You've skirted.
Oh, who won? Yeah, true. I just gave a big preamble. I don't know. I reckon Andrew. I reckon you're a bit of a winner here.
Never would have picked that from Beebs.
Yeah, neither.
Going for Kings of Leon, the milk toastiest of the choices.
Steakiest.
Thank you.
Get you back.
Yeah, cool. I personally think Tim's was the best choice, but that's with like taking the same approach that Tim has of introducing me to something that I'd not really heard before that I really like.
So
probably wouldn't have come across otherwise.
By virtue of voting for himself, Andrew has won.
Yes.
Good on you, Andrew.
This happens to be a lot.
Done around here.
Isn't that how you become Pope? Everyone votes for each other, and then you got to vote for yourself.
And
I'm basically the Pope now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, Andrew, you were the Pope of Vinyl Tap. I don't know about you, but I feel like there wasn't or isn't really a loser this month. I mean, we can pick one if you really want to, but I don't think that there was really anything that was god awful to listen to or super inconsistent or.
You're only saying that because you know it would be you.
I mean, if
I'm kidding. I had nothing against Beach House.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I enjoyed them. I do think that I wouldn't say Dream Pop is something I associate with 2008, really at all. I sort of know Dream Pop from after that, and I know it's like a thing that happened earlier, right? It's like a 70s, 80s thing.
No, mid to late 80s, and then I think it kind of blew up and had a massive
emerge
scene in
out
the
of New
90s.
Romantics. That kind of vibe.
My Bloody Valentine is the earliest band that I think of, but I think they were 90s. I think there was the Something Twins or Something Siblings in the late 80s that I can't remember. I'm not super.
And it came out of the UK, right?
Yeah, I think it came out of the UK.
It sounds like it could have emerged from New Romantic stuff, but I'll stop interrupting.
That's fine. I also think it's really interesting that besides Andrew, the albums we picked weren't the big, obvious choices from 2008. Know, we've already mentioned Coldplay, Muse, The Killers, Lady Gaga, The Fame, Pink, Funhouse, Taylor Swift, Fearless, Katy Perry, One of the Boys, probably the more prominent pop albums. Kanye released an album, yeah. Like there's lots of big albums.
Yeah, it was a huge year, and we went with none of the obvious choices.
Again, I didn't listen to any of this music, so I'm just going to sit back and shut up and hope nobody notices me, because I have essentially nothing to say on the year of 2008 and music. It really skipped me by.
I that just amazes me that like there's so many things that were just...
I know for a fact that you have listened to Resistance a bunch.
I actually remember like being at school the day that I first saw that album. Like somebody came back from the shopping square across the road and they had Resistance and they're like, oh, check it out. I was like, oh, whoa, fucking cool. But I didn't think they were a band that it was big at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Before we move on, does anyone have any other 2008 anecdotes or albums they'd like to give a shout out to that we didn't pick for this theme?
I really wanted to, and I was tempted to do this. Journey released an album in 2008 called Revelations. And I thought, man, wouldn't that be fucking wild to listen to what Journey was doing 20 years after anyone gave a crap? And I listened to it. It's actually not that bad. They redid a bunch of their old classics with a new Filipino singer who actually really captures Stephen Perry's voice nicely. And they wrote a bunch of new songs that are generally unremarkable. So that's why I picked Rise Against Appeal to Reason.
Because Tim didn't want to lose the month.
Thinking like a real winner there. I like it.
Yeah. Until Andrew comes along and votes for himself.
I don't have the winner's spirit.
That's Pope Andrew to you.
So we've got a few things this episode we're actually going to clarify from the previous episodes. First time we're trying this, where we've actually gone and looked into things that we said we're going to actually look into. So, Babes, I don't know if you remember your comment about the Kings of Leon song, I Want You.
Yeah, I'm still right.
Like, hey, baby, DJ Otzi, or Utsi, I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Nothing.
You were so insane.
Nothing at all.
How on earth?
Zero.
Have you gone and listened to them side by side yet?
Yes, I have.
Baby.
They sound exactly the same.
They
I don't know how to.
nothing alike.
No. Okay, so there is. I should have cut it out. So basically, like the melody bit in there, if you just cut that out and you slapped it on, hey baby, they would sound the same. They would.
Okay, you said these songs sound the same.
Yeah, well, you know what? Only great minds will understand me. Viewers out there, if you are like me and you're enlightened and on an elevated plane of existence of which no one seems to share with you, don't worry, I'm there. I'll get you back.
Yeah, but also you're going against our current Pope, so...
Okay, look.
Are you trying to transcend me? Fair enough.
So
I
I thought we'd all clarify so we all had an opinion on that, and I have no clue what I'm about. I don't think any of us do.
Well, look, I will die on that hill
Is
alone.
And you're wrong because Andrew voted for himself again. Sorry, Pope Andrew.
Yeah, and following up again, just to throw you under the bus some more.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm ready.
The Green Day song you were thinking of was Good Riddance.
Yeah.
It was Good Riddance.
Talking about Hero of War.
I love how
Against.
now the clarifications and follow-ups have come to the point where, yes, this is what you were thinking of.
I know that because we have spoken about it, and he called me like a couple of days after the episode, and you're like, "Yeah, you're right. It was this."
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm prepared to accept when I'm wrong, and I'm just letting you all know that I refuse to accept that I was wrong. That the Kings of Leon could actually lose a court case against DJ Otzi. I'm there. I'm there, DJ Otzi. Like if you need a lawyer,
this the new Kookaburra sits on the?
It is, and
oh god,
I'm ready to go. Going on from Rise Against, Tim, did you ever follow up on the vocal harmonies in Whereabouts Unknown?
First of all, I don't think it's a consistent interval, but I can see where the idea comes from. I think it's fourths and not fifths, but again, the effect is generally the same. And I think I agree with you in it's not very nice sounding.
To clarify, that's in the song Whereabouts Unknown, Rise Against, just to give people context of what we're talking about.
I tried to sneak it in, but I think I rushed it. It's an interesting effect because it's everywhere in pop punk, right? It's like
yeah, they do that a lot.
And it's one that you're very staunchly against.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm with you there. I really wish they would stop using fourths like that. Although I don't think they think about it like that. They're just it's just a harmony, dude. Maybe some of them do compose them intentionally as fourths, but I doubt that.
They probably just never had somebody, kind of throw medieval like chants and Breton church songs just down their throats, have some force. Yeah.
Although that raises the idea that you could just take pop punk songs and arrange them for a Gregorian choir and keep the drums.
That sounds pretty cool.
You'd need the drums.
Yeah.
You
That
would
Could we
sound
do that?
arms.
Pretty amazing.
Could we have a
That's
follow up
actually
where
a really
we
good
release
idea.
that
Can we
album?
cut this out of the episode so no one steals the idea?
Right. No, but so
If
okay,
someone
like
else does it, goes and does it, I'd be okay with it. I just want to hear it.
yeah. So did pop punk rip off Gregorian chant?
Maybe.
Ooh.
I think it's convergent evolution. I think that it's two separate paths that have led to the same conclusion. I really do. I don't think it is intentionally like, oh, this sounded good in 13th century church chants. I don't think that's what was going on in their heads. I really think
You could argue, though, that it's permeated through music throughout the ages leading to this point, and you can hear enough of it in other music that it's actually led to this point. You'd always find something where it's
I
been
really
in.
think that the lower fourth as a harmonic, device kind of disappeared from music for quite a while.
Okay.
It's a really small niche argument to get into. I'd love to do it someday.
No, I think you're right. I mean, look, my knowledge of music and harmony is not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination, but I can't think of too many periods where having parallel fourths go through your melodies like that is a really big thing, unless it's Gregorian chant and pop punk. So,
have we
So
cracked
they're the
music?
same genre. Is the
I
conclusion
think we
we're
have.
coming to.
I think we've
They're
solved
basically
pop
the
punk.
same genre.
Yeah.
But as a point of interest, though, you should listen to some Gregorian chant. Just a couple of things. Like you don't need to get invested in it. You don't have to enjoy it. And then listen to your favorite pop punk tracks and just compare the vocal harmonies, because it's something that is, it may be super interesting to you. I find it.
It may be absolutely nothing to you.
Yeah,
There might
exactly.
be something to say about the way melodies are written as well, because they have that flowing contour in both genres. It's a bit stabbier in pop punk. So put that in your academia and smoke it.
I will.
Interesting stuff.
Moving on to the next point.
Right, yeah.
I wanted to know what the vocal harmonies were doing in the chorus of Crime Wave, Crystal Castles. And Tim, what was the result of that?
First of all, fuck you for making me listen to that again. I cannot stand the detuning on the melody there. It's fucking disgusting. Oh no. Oh, how dare you subject my ears to that. I hated it, and I've already forgotten the conclusion I came to.
Okay.
So tell me what I told you.
You told me that the harmony was recontextualizing the melody.
Yes.
So like the melody wasn't moving, but the two vocal lines were staying the same, but the harmony underneath was moving.
Yeah. So it created the illusion of movement just because the context of the melody was changing. It's well composed. I just hate listening to it.
Wait, hang on. I didn't catch that properly. So the melody stayed exactly the
The
same. They kind of
melody and the
repeated it.
vocal harmony stayed the same, and then the accompaniment underneath was moving, so it made the melody sound different even though it wasn't changing.
Those cheeky fucking musicians, I swear to
Yeah.
God.
Always gonna get you, musicians. You never know when they're gonna strike.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just know that when we were listening to that for the first time, I heard that and was like, hang on, what's going on there? That sounds really cool and different to everything else I've been doing. But I do agree with Tim. The detuning is horrendous.
And then there was also Crystal Castles, their opener
Which
in
Andrew,
Untrust Us.
Yeah.
La cocaína non est buena.
Yep.
the
He
Pope over
absolutely
here
nailed it.
just nailed it. Exactly. It was exactly that.
So they're actually from a band, Death from Above. Their song, Dead Womb. It's like is it the chorus bit or the right at
That's
the
the
beginning
intro.
of their
They
song?
sample the intro. Basically, it's exactly how it is. I don't even think that Crystal Castles, well, they might have done something to it, but very negligibly did something to it. It sounds almost identical to the way it is in Dead Womb.
And right at the
Super-
end of the Crystal Castles one, Untrust Us, like right at the last second, there's this like horrendous kind of random drum rock bit that happens. And that's actually like the main song from Dead Womb.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, though, on the intro for the cocaine is not good for your health, by looking into it, we found out that like the way they got it to sound the way it did was an old text to voice that was on an old computer that one of the like band members had, which is pretty weird and creepy.
Right.
Well, like the old
MacBook text to voice.
I think it was older than that.
It like predates Microsoft SAM.
Yeah, like
Beautiful.
way back. So yeah, that's nice to resolve those questions we had about that. Beebs, speaking of Crystal Castles, though.
Right. So.
And the recontextualizing after the last song.
Did you guys do much reading on Crystal Castles after we listened to it, or
a little?
Right. So. I won't get too into it, but a few years ago, so it's a group of two, and Alice Glass had made some allegations like in 2017 that like pretty full-on abuse sort of stuff was happening. You can kind of read her statement online. Trigger warning, though, it's pretty heavy reading. And I think it does kind of, it's hard to say if there is an exact story or if you can just put one on like a story into that album. Like whether she's sort of, because she wrote a lot of the lyrics, as I understand, for all of those songs. I think there's, when you listen to it, having a bit of knowledge that there was a lot of intense stuff going on for her, I think there is a case to be made that it's like a big emotional release, I suppose. And it's sort of it captures the emotional intensity of being a girl and not listened to when there's some pretty serious stuff going on. And I think especially that last song, I think hits quite close to home because it's so like sweet and vulnerable and different, and having that whole beginning of the album, like leading up to that point being so intense and so angry. I definitely do think there was a bit of a story. Although that said, it's probably I'm putting that story onto it, knowing the background rather than that being there in the first place.
Well, see, knowing that most of the album was pre-release singles that they had compiled, but then a couple of songs and that one, the final one, were added on just for this album. That kind of, I think, sways the pendulum in your favor. I think that points in your direction that this was an intentional decision to frame the album in this particular way. And I must say that after reading some of the stuff about the band, I feel bad about all the things I said about Alice Glass's vocals. Like, I didn't mean anything. Like, it just wasn't for me.
Well, no, I think that's perfectly okay to judge music from a musical standpoint, but it also does sort of raise the point that
like, how much of a say did she have in the creation of all of this?
Yeah, but also sometimes there's a story that contextualizes what you're doing, so it makes a lot of sense that something can be ugly and something can be intense or angry or whatever, because the story behind it kind of gives you almost license to make those sounds.
Right. So something that being said, ugly doesn't mean that it's bad art.
Right. That said, you also don't have to enjoy somebody's art.
Yeah.
Everyone has the license to take it or leave it. So,
speaking of leaving it, Coldplay, we didn't touch it. Take that.
It's already stuck in my head now.
Sorry.
Wow, that was a big change to Coldplay.
Oh, I just thought it was something we hadn't talked about because
Coldplay can go down.
We had a little bit. I feel like the whole Coldplay thing, we can it's going to end up with its own big chat about it at some point in time. Sure.
I hope it doesn't actually. I hope that Coldplay is left here in this whole of 2008 where music was happening, because moving right on to Beach House, we were discussing about the...
Spinal tap. The
Coldplay
theme.
month. So, what were you saying about Beach House? Sorry, Beeps.
So we were saying that the distortion was from like a gate pedal or something like that.
Yeah.
You with the guitar knowledge, though, hit me up, Jason, with that sweet knowledge.
Not that good of a knowledge. I think I was the one who suggested it, but I looked into what kind of gear they used or use. It's hard to tell, like trying to backdate it that much at the moment because you see what they're using at the moment, but it's either the tube amp just doing what a tube amp does, where you either play more intensely and it's grittier, or some form of like volume control where you turn the volume up and it's the same tone but it's grittier, or even just maybe like changing channel on the amp. I think they use Fender tube amps. I can't remember what model, and yeah, tubes just give you that grit if you want them to.
So spend all of your money on tube amps, right?
Yeah, spend all your money on tube amps, 100%. Without a doubt.
If you have money and you don't have a tube amp, something's gone wrong.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you have $2 and a tube amp, what are you doing? Every cent needs to go towards that. And speaking of really great things that money can buy, the production value as a theme has been great across all of these albums.
Yeah, good month for listening to stuff.
Yeah,
but like,
nice unintentional consequence of our choices was the production across all of these albums was very high quality, and we weren't sitting there going, I wish they did this or they could have done that. There was not a lot of those comments this month.
I think I felt like I said I had panning effect go from left to right in basically every album. So good. Tick.
Yeah, really good tick. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this month or 2008?
It was a silly year.
Andrew. It was a silly year.
I don't know. There was some enjoyable music. None of the stuff was particularly deep, like revolutionary stuff in terms of, that we listened to breaking the mold. A lot of stuff that was good and really enjoyable listening. But yeah, just pleasant listening kind of year is my view.
This has been one of the easier months of Vinyl Tap to get through.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
For some reason, no one brought in Mandolin Serenade or...
I'm sure we could have found you some.
I'm feeling very targeted here.
Actually, that is a point to bring up. We haven't mentioned any of our favorite classical or jazz releases from 2008.
I was going to mention an Arvo Pärt symphony that he wrote in 2008. Ooh. I thought that would have been really fun, but probably a bit too... we'll talk about it later,
I'm going to not mention jazz because I don't know any jazz off the top of my head that got released in 2008.
Caravan Palace got released in 2008. There's some jazz for you. Some E-swing.
Yeah.
Jazz really does mean nothing these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Take that, Miles Davis.
Click above to find out what else we've talked about in this theme.
Click above to see other things.
Take that, jazz